Stone again. Let's get stoned again. And if you don't have no money, you don't have to worry, 'cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. Every fucking day and every fucking night, I think about the world and how it's turned so shy.
Like Leeds United.
And I need some friends to moon with, so I can share my blues. Jason, Andy, Webby, and Aid on Raconteurs News. Let's get stoned again. Let's get stoned again. And if you don't have no money, you don't have to worry, 'cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. Come on, let's get stoned again. Let's get stoned again. Yeah, let's get really having fun. And if you don't have no money, you don't have to worry, 'cause I got plenty of weed, man. You can come and get stoned with me. You can come and get stoned with me. Nice fun. You can come and get stoned with me.
Good evening. Thank you to Heath for that little one there. It's not the one that he sent me last week, but it'll do. It's an introduction. Let's get stoned again. Welcome to Raconteurs News. It is Monday night. It's the 28th of January 2019. My sister's birthday, my beautiful sister's birthday today. So happy birthday to you. And I'd like to say hello to everybody that's watching as well. And no guest tonight, but I do have my esteemed colleague, Paul Webster. Sorry, Paul Watson. That's some other guy, isn't it?
Is that like Paul Joseph Watson or Watson the dog? I don't know what you're getting mixed up with here.
Paul Webster. Good evening, mate. How you doing, Paul?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm again. It's just watching the world, set on fire. The world's burning, and people aren't paying attention.
I've been ignoring it, really. I've been really ignoring it.
Why do you keep doing this, James?
Because, you know why? Because I think that it has an effect on my moods. Now, first things first, I just want to clear something up. If everybody remembers last week, on the Tuesday show, it was the day before Watson was due to go and have his testicles removed. Watson?
You're bringing the Jews into it again already.
Come on. So what I want to do, come here, is I just want to show everybody.
Please don't show us his bollocks.
There's Watson's nuts, and he's still got them. And do you know why he's still got them? Because I'm such a fucking knobhead that I drove to the other end of the city to the wrong vets, and so he's not been done. And now he's due to be done on February the 4th. But I'm having I'm having second thoughts. I don't know whether I should be doing it at all. He's been such a good boy since it happened. And when we were on his way, we ended up at the wrong vets, completely opposite side of town. If anyone knows Sheffield, I ended up somewhere on the near Hillsborough, and the vets that I should have been at was completely the opposite end of town, somewhere near Woodseats. And I didn't have time to go and take him from one place to another, because it would have been then all the pre-op checks and everything. They didn't have time for it, so he's got a reprieve. And also, when I spoke to the lady on the phone, and she told me, she says, "Oh, he's got a reprieve." And that made me think, well, it's not going to like this. He's not going to like it, and it's made me have second thoughts. And so he's booked him for February the 4th, But I'm having second thoughts. I really don't know where he's been. Such a good boy since as well. Whenever I've took him out, he's not attacked any old ladies or you know, tried to kill anybody or anything. And he saw a dog out while he were out today as well, and we're just playing along. So I'm just having second thoughts.
Well, maybe considering you've got 7 days left, maybe you could, maybe you should see whether he gets you filled in or not in between those 7 days. That might tip the balance, that, mate.
It might do, mate. But I'm just, I don't know. It's the big softy in me. It was almost as if I went in the wrong direction subconsciously and went to the wrong vet subconsciously because I didn't want to do that. And I'm trying to work all that sort of stuff out. So if anybody's got any nice answers for me, then I'll be really grateful for them.
I doubt it. Maybe we should get the yellow vests to protest about Watson's nuts.
Watson's.
Stick your yellow vest on to protest his nuts being cut off. Because if we look at the stuff what's going on over there, which is absolutely bonkers. I mean, I've had quite a bit of correspondence aimed at I can't remember the lad's name who allegedly started the yellow vest movement over in France. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he got shot in the face at the weekend. Did you see any of this, Jason?
I think I saw something. I can't exactly say that I saw that particular thing. Yeah,
he's been shot in his eye. It's looking like he's going to lose. He's lost his eye type thing, but. The guy stood there. He's not moving. There's no rioting or anything like that. There is a clear indication between police officers for an officer to raise a weapon at head height and shoot. And the guy is actually filming, and the camera rocks. And then you obviously see the camera go down and settle on the floor. The guy's been shot in his eye. And this is the guy who was back when the process first started. He was actually filmed because I got tagged in it saying that this is the French Paul Webster, because he was going on about bills of exchange, he was going on about usury, he was going on about all the things that the government are actually implementing that is stealing everything. It wasn't eventually, it didn't all come down to fuel prices, which is what we were all told. So it seems like there was a definite, genuine attempt to at the very least, maybe not make an example, but at the very least to make an example and target this fella to, you know, cause a bit of unrest, further unrest. I don't know. I really don't know where they're going with it in France, because with it being all civil law, Jason, all they've got to do is get together around a table, pass an act, write a bit of legislation, and something is legal. If that is using live rounds on these people, then that's going to be legal. Stalin did nothing illegal. Hitler did nothing illegal. Mao did nothing illegal, and neither did Churchill. They all did things legally, but that just means that a bloke decided that was okay to do, and then another load of other people got together and said, "We agree."
Legal doesn't necessarily mean moral.
No, not at all. Not at all. But that's not what it's talking about.
No way, shape, or form.
No.
Does legal mean moral?
Definitely not, mate.
So what's the moral high ground that they're standing on here? Are they saying, look, we know better than you, and we're going to allow this sort of thing to continue? And so, you know, where does it? I think what I'm trying to say is, who are we going to have to deal with when shit goes tits up? Because it's going to go tits up, and particularly in France. I noticed I got somebody on who I'd been messaging just before Christmas, who was part of the Yellow Vest movement in France, and a listener had actually put me onto him. And I've just noticed the messages again, so I'm going to be going through that So where is it going to? Where does this end? Does it end when we decide it ends, or does it end when they decide it ends?
That is a really good question, because if I'm looking at it from the outside, obviously, like I am, then if it stays organic, Jason, it could go anywhere. You know, if people actually were critically thinking, and actually this movement was going to formulate into something that was going to be, you know, collectively, people are all thinking about the same thing, which is taking control of that money side of this system. The system is in place. Everything is in place for this system. Everything would work. It's got to work on behalf of the people, though. What it's doing at the moment is the people are working on behalf of the system, which creates a hell of a lot of profit for a very few people, instead of that massive amount of profit being shared throughout the shareholders, which is every man and woman that's registered in this country / company. If we start to think differently like that, I'm sick of talking to people who start off on a sentence and then straight away they start talking about saving money. It's a false paradigm. You're basing everything on false information. There is no money. There is no savings in a debt-based economy. Let's deal with what we've got instead of imagining some kind of fairyland where we've got things. We've got to deal with what we've got, which is debt-based.
Well, this is your problem. If you've got somebody who has probably got, I don't know, some savings, some saved up, some stuff, and let's say they've got 25 grand in bank, and they would feel as though they've got a lot of money.
Yeah,
they would feel empowered. They would feel enriched. And so, you know, if you want to go and then say to them, actually, you know, that 25 grand you got in bank, it's worthless. It means fuck all. It means absolutely nothing. They're going to defend the system and defend what they've got based upon what they perceive that they have.
Yeah, big time. They will fight to the death to save this system, because they believe they've actually got something in it. 25 grand in a bank account is virtually 25,000 promises. If me and you and everybody else do not get up off our asses and go out into the workplace and perform whatever duties we've got within that economy, there is no economy. If there is no economy, your 25,000 promises mean nothing. They don't even mean a promise. People want substantial things if it comes to that. That is why, if they collapse this economy, what are you going to replace it with? Because people actually believe that a piece of paper is worth something. It doesn't matter what pieces of paper you've got, Jason. You can't eat them. You know, we've got to start thinking about things differently, not because we're all going to end up, we should all be like stockpiling food and everything. No, we shouldn't be going down that fearful route. We should be going, do you know what? You bastards have taken us down this road. We can see where this is going because we've been down this road so many times in history. Let's start looking locally now. Look at our farmers. I've got loads of farmers around here who don't grow anything apart from rapeseed. You know, they grow rape oil. That's it. Where's the food? You know, you've got there's absolutely no need for it, for all this panicking. And if people are going to buy into it, then that will create that panic. The panic, once that's created, somebody's going to offer a solution, and it's which one's going to be the best.
But it's really difficult to get people out of that paradigm that they're in. In that paradigm, you know, if let's just say I've got my next door neighbour, for example, my next door neighbour, and I say to him, you know, I've got 50 grand in my bank account, and he goes, well, you know, he will then perceive me as being rich, whereas it's not. How do we get away from that? How do we get away from that because for me, it means money means nothing, and it really does. It means absolutely nothing to me at all. But for so many other people, it means just about everything. And it's all about how you survive as well, isn't it? It's all about, it's like the system's rigged so that you have to engage in it, you know, and you have to engage in it. If you don't engage in it, then you're going to go hungry. I've got to go. Let's just say a single mother, and I've got my child, and the father's gone or whatever, you know, what. He's not even, perhaps he's not there for other reasons. But I'm a single mother, and I've got to go and beg the state to allow me the luxury of being able to, and it's not even enough to be able to feed my child, feed myself, keep us warm, and keep us, you know, in some comfort, which is what you'd hope that people get. But, you know, you're having to beg, and that's the system that's inbuilt. And how do it's really difficult to remove that system when you've got a capitalist system in place as well. So everybody wants to sell whatever they've got. You know, nobody wants to share it. Nobody wants to barter it. Everyone wants to sell, and they want to get these coins or these notes, these pieces of paper that really, like you said, mean fuck all. You might as well be wiping your arse on them. But you know, but actually, because people have got this perception that that it's the be all and end all, you know, it's a trapped. You're trapped. It's a trap that you're stuck in, and you can't get out of it.
You're spot on. How does anybody look at money? If I put a £10 note on the table and ask somebody what is that £10 note worth, somebody will say that is worth £10, and I'll say £10 of what? And they'll say £10 of money, and I'll say, what is £10 of money? Because you're talking silver or gold if we're going to talk money, and that piece of paper is not worth £10 of silver or £10 worth of gold, because it isn't backed by that. It is backed by the promise that you will give them £10 of silver or £10 of gold eventually, because you haven't got it. Now, I don't think we need to get rid of this system. If you took this system and threw it away and then tried to implement something new, Jason, you would make more problems than what we've got now, because people believe in this system. People believe in money. Let them believe in it, but let them know that the reason that there's a belief in the money is because you get up and go to work. You participate. You're the creditor. Banks are not lending you money. Realize the power that you've got. That is the only way for me, without going off and saying, stop paying your mortgage, stop paying your bills, because that would decimate families. That's ridiculous. Analyze where you're at. Look at what you can do. If you can't take anything on, learn. It can't be simpler than that, Jason, because if you don't learn, then how can you pass that on to your children? And therefore, how can they pass that on to their children? Because I've seen a gas warrants officer understand everything I've said about a debt-based economy, and in the next sentence he still confirmed he was going to teach his children to pay bills in a system you cannot pay. It's absolutely bonkers. But then you've got the cognitive dissonance, you've got all kinds kicking in, and then you try and talk about that, and you're being distracted away from the money, which is like the meat and potatoes. Somebody is stealing your money. You'd think if you told anybody that somebody is stealing from you, they would want to stop that and be up in arms. But if it's a bloke stood in front of them saying, I'm taking your phone, they're going to fight me. But if it's a bank or a council saying, you need to get out of that house, they're crying, they're throwing themselves on the floor. Please stop. Please don't do this. And these people don't care. They really don't.
And that's true. I mean, we've got into that stage, haven't we? Where we've got people that are prepared to do things that perhaps they wouldn't have done if they'd have been raised in a way such as They had some empathy for people. They had some, you know, they could see what somebody was going through. But all that's been sort of removed from us.
Yeah, where's it gone?
Humanity's been removed.
Yeah, where's it gone? I'm talking to my mates over in Ireland. Ben Gilroy's in jail doing a contempt of court sentence it's absolutely manufactured. These people are trying to make an example out of this man because he stood up to the people who were trying to steal everybody's property, and he's stood up with them with their own legislation and said, you can't do this. And they've mixed everything up, and we can see what is coming there, provoking a lot of people. But one thing that when I was speaking to Ben was about, and my other Irish friends, is the Irish don't take shit like this. Why have they been asleep for so long, and why are they allowing these people to do this to them? And I see that over here, my town, my local town, Jason. These people will fight. These people will fight if you're not being fair with them. The trouble is, because it's legal, they think they don't understand it. They think they aren't clever enough because we are taught we're not clever enough to understand the legal system. We're not clever enough to understand the banking system. We need to speak to other people to show us how this works. That's not true. It completely is not true. I understand it. It's easy. You've got to go and read it yourself before you start. I've had people saying, some dickhead contacted me and said, right, well, what do I just tell them next time they want to charge me some money for my bill? What do I just tell them to stop it? And I'm going, I don't know how to speak to somebody like that. If you think it was that simple, why do you think I've not done a video and just gone, look how easy it is, boom, 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 everybody's done. You won't even be speaking to me now because you'll have just gone and done it. It's the same principle as when people go on a post and say, could you explain this? Well, why don't you Google it? By the time it's taken you to text that question to either me or somebody to give you an answer, you could have actually gone and found that yourself. And people don't do it because people want it done for them. This isn't what we're up to here, Jason. You mentioned it earlier on. If we were at such a stage, things would just be happening. We're beyond a lot of those stages now.
And when you're talking about people, we've become this sort of social. Socially, we've become something that somebody does something for us.
Yeah,
you know, if you need something, then there's somebody who'll do it. Whether it's an app on your phone or whether it's somebody that you know or what have you. But people seem to have lost the ability to do things for themselves, and we're losing a lot of skills.
Definitely. Definitely. I'm like people who I work with. I'm starting with I'm working with people who are just coming into the workforce, like in early 20s, stuff like that. Some people have been through college and university. They've got degrees. They've got certificates. Some people have got degrees in stacking shelves. They're coming into all kinds of jobs that, because it's on a piece of paper, that can be. We can say that you can stack shelves, so that means you can work in this environment because it's a presentation type environment, instead of giving people actual skills. Because for the people that can only do things like that, I know one man who can build a boat from scratch. His name's not Noah, it's Dave, funnily enough, but he can build a boat because he did an apprenticeship. He was at Camellards. He can build boats. He knows what it requires for ballast and balance. He knows all this stuff. Nobody else I know could do that because nobody's got the chance to go and build boats. We couldn't. We're right back. If there's no food in the supermarkets, Jason, we're going right back to the Stone Age. Most of us. If the elite just packed up and walked away, and the people that are left, us that run everything, don't actually have some belief in what we do. It's like looking at America. They've had the government shut for 2 months. The country doesn't even know unless you actually work in the public sector, because nothing has been affected. Spain has had no government for 18 months. Its unemployment rate has dropped and its economy has gone up with no government. There's lessons to be learned and to be looked at. We are investing far too much time and energy into wasted bags of skin that are not working for the people of this country in the company that has been forged around us. They are working for private interests or blackmailed to fuck. There can't be anything else in this, because MPs can tell lies legally. That doesn't constitute.
They have to tell lies legally.
Exactly.
They have to.
Exactly. They can't get away without it. They couldn't tell the truth, and that is why you're never going to get MPs who go down to London and live there and come back up to the local constituency and tell the truth. You've got Andy Burnham. He's gone now. He's mayor of Manchester. No, you've only got one number there, mate. But, you see what I mean? You've got all these MPs feathering their own nests, being told what to do, what to say, and because they'll turn up when there's a tree being planted and some ham sandwiches, it's ridiculous. People have got to grow up. They've got to grow up and take some responsibility for not only their lives, but if they care about the children and the children's children, they've got to start looking at something instead of saying, well, I'm watching EastEnders or Coronation Street or Love Island or Dancing on Ice, watching a big girl go flat on her face, apparently because she wanted to do that, to cause a story. If people are interested in that and not what is raping your fucking family to death, I don't know what to say to people, Jason.
Well, we're in a situation where I've got to say that I'm a bit voyeuristic as well, because I have been guilty of like watching different, but it seems that it's the more and more, the more weird that things become, the more acceptable it seems to be. So
yes.
It's like naked. There's a TV show on Channel 4. Me and my missus watch it. We sit and watch, and you know what? Sometimes she'll go to bed and I'll be sat downstairs and it'll be on TV and we won't watch it, right? I won't watch it on my own and she won't watch it on her own, simply because the idea is you're sat there and you're taking piss and you're talking to each other and you're interacting. Apart from that, it's got no merit whatsoever, apart from they were a bloke with one leg on it, one which obviously made me stand up and thought, oh, I could be a naked attraction. But no, you know what I mean? It's like, the more freakish, the more weird that everything is, the more people seem to flock to it. And I know I've been caught up in it myself, like I'm saying.
They are ramping that up. They are ramping that up, Jason, because the things that would be totally unacceptable even 20 years ago are now being normalised. Again, how many times we talked about the 11-year-old boy on a catwalk having dollar bills stuffed in his pants while he's cavorting up and down as Gwen Stefani. There's something not right about the reality that we're in, and it is being normalised. Seeing 5-year-old girls at Victoria's Secret's fashion shows cavorting about in lingerie. A 5-year-old girl does not require lingerie. You know, there's something not right what is being pushed, but you know, it's a good job there's no agendas, isn't there?
And speaking of which, he will be on again very soon. I've been in touch with him over this week. Neil Sanders will be on in a couple of weeks' time. He's just got over. I think his back's he's knocked his back out or something, so he's not very well at the moment. But Neil Sanders will be on Raconteurs News in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, we'll be able to get. I'd love to get his take since we've been he came on and told us there were no agenda, and I know we've brought it. We brought it up many times and said, there's no agenda. But I'd like to get his take on it now and whether it's changed.
Yeah, me too, very much, because it's about a year at least since he's been on us, coming up for that. Anyway, there's got to be. I don't understand anybody who's considering themselves. I don't know even what term to use, but if they consider themselves switched on to other things possibly nefarious that are going on in this reality, to completely state that there is no agendas being pushed, that is absolutely ridiculous to me. That because I can see it, I'm absolutely seeing it. So yeah, because it has seemed to have doubled up at the very least over the past year. I'm interested to see if anything's changed in Neil's opinions over that, because you see it a lot. I was talking about Owen Benjamin, who left Hollywood after having arguments over transgender stuff, and people have actually defriended him, said that he's gone nuts, and are trolling him because he's just stated that we've never been to the moon. He can't show any evidence. It's quite obvious to him now that we've never been to the moon, yet he keeps getting attacked. And he's adamant that, yeah. So then he went to Flat Earth, Jason, and he said, I'm going to prove that the Earth is a sphere because that's what I believe. And then after about a week, he was saying, I'm struggling to prove it's a sphere. I still believe it's a sphere, but I'm struggling to prove it. And he's asking for people to help him. Yet, after all, from completely being, yeah, we've been to the moon, to completely, no, we've not, to, yes, the Earth is a sphere. Oh, hang on a minute, but I can't quite prove it, so I don't really know what to do. He's got other subjects that he's nailed on, are adamant about, the Holocaust being one. Now, already two massive subjects have already started to crumble before his eyes, yet he's adamant about something. And I think that's what's happening with a lot of people. It's the more adamant that you are, it's the more that you start getting tested. Because I don't know about you, Jason, but the most I've found out is how little I fucking know about what the hell has gone on in this world. I've been here in this manifestation anyway. I've been here 47 years. I haven't got a clue.
Fucking hell, you look like getting old, man.
Well, I'm talking to you for the best part of the fucking 2 years, mate.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, this week we had Holocaust Memorial Day, didn't we?
Yes, we did, yes.
Which people marked, and I noticed. All I noticed stuff on Twitter. I'm not interested. Couldn't give a fuck. Not interested. I don't know whether the Holocaust happened. I don't know what it was all about. I weren't there. It's not my fucking gig. It's not my deal. I don't know. I can't. And you know what? If you're wanting me to fucking believe you, and you're talking history, and you're not telling me that fucking Winston Churchill murdered hundreds of thousands of people in Dresden, then I'm not interested, because you're clearly not impartial. All you're going from one side. So the Holocaust Memorial Day, keep it. It's okay. You do that. Do whatever you want. It really irritates me that you get Chelsea supporters. And let's talk about football. Because Wednesday we were on telly yesterday on BBC One, and they played crap and they were awful. But they played Chelsea. And Chelsea, they were their supporters were vilified for using the Y word, right?
Hang on a minute. What's the Y word?
Yid.
Well,
and yet Spurs supporters are singing Yid Army, Yid Army, Yid Army. But if Chelsea supporters say it, it's wrong. This is the double standards that people really. They're not racist. They're not homophobic. They're not anti-Semitic. They're just double standard. Watson, stop being on the job, Ed.
To be fair, you know, it's the Spurs fans, I think, from the club itself, but the Spurs fans have been told not to use the Y word. I'm fucking sick of this Y word, N word stuff. The words. Why can't we all just sit down and have a fucking debate about these
Can't
words?
we be grown up about it?
I know. I would really, really like to be grown up about some of this stuff, because we're being dragged through the shite again, Jason, that we've always done through every period, through fucking history. We allow these sycophantic fucking idiots and all the minions tell us bollocks and lies. You've got access to information. You can find out information, be it true or false. That's up to you to disseminate. But
Here's one for you. Here's one for you, Paul. I want to get your impressions on this, but this occurred to me.
I don't do impressions.
This occurred to me the other night, but you remember back in the day, you know, when we've got this situation where a week ago a Cardiff City player disappeared on his plane, and it just went right. Okay, yes. It's disappeared. It's all terribly sad, and it's all really tragic and everything. But I was saying to my missus, back in the day, I would have got 10, 15 text messages from people with jokes, sick jokes. There'd have been sick jokes about it. And every time something like that happened, you get messages, text messages, sick jokes from text messages. Now, that doesn't happen anymore. Now, that's a form of self-censorship as far as I'm concerned, because there's nothing wrong with these sick jokes. People make jokes about things, and if they're sick, they're sick. If they're funny. Fair enough. You know, it's just that people don't make them anymore because people interact through social media. Therefore, more people are going to be able to see what they're saying rather than it being directed at a certain individual. You'd send your mate a text message with a joke on it because you know that he'd get it. Now, people don't do that anymore because people mostly interact on social media. So it's a form of self-censorship. And I really missed that. And that was just something that hit me. And I thought to myself, you know, over these years, there's been certain things that have happened, and I would have thought, oh, somebody'd have a joke about that, some sick joke, but they send it through a text message. They don't do that anymore. So social media's made us self-censoring.
I don't know. Did you see the Neil Warnock interview about transfers?
No.
Neil Warnock, you know, it was very unfortunate, Jason, but as you were just saying about tongue-in-cheek and having a laugh, he obviously did not mean it, but he was being questioned about any other transfers coming in the January transfer window. And he went, well, I won't say it's dead in the water, but it's doubtful.
But that's Neil Warnock. He's a Yorkshire. I know he's a Sheffield United supporter.
Yeah, he did not mean anything by it. He didn't.
That's our humour. That's the way. And to anybody else, that nobody should find that offensive.
But I don't think. No, he was, because he's the Cardiff man. I don't think he meant it like that. He was talking genuinely about transfers. He says we're looking at more loans than transfers at the minute. He says, but I wouldn't say it's dead in the water. And you just went, oh, Neil. Yeah.
But then again, I mean, come on, you're talking about a guy who's an anagram of his name is Colin Wanker.
Neil's not known for his diplomacy.
No, you know, I like Neil Warnock.
Yeah, because he's straight
manager, but I think he's just. On Wednesday we're going to have him. Sorry, he was after we sacked Dave Jones. Wednesday we're on the verge of appointing him, but the supporters didn't like him. You know, we have been a United fan, a blade, so it never happened. And then he goes to fucking Cardiff and takes them up fucking first season. So I like Neil Warnock. I think he's great. I think he's I think he says what he means.
Yeah,
and you know what? He don't hold back. And
no.
Anybody that's like that, even though he's a fucking blade, I know he might be a wanker, but. Well, Colin. It'll be a Colin show.
At least you know where you stand with people like that, and that's what I like. I like people who say what they mean. You've got nothing to no grey areas. You know, if it's you do it this way or it's no other way, then if you don't do it that way and you either get sacked or reprimanded, you've not really much to say. It's what it comes down to with. You hit it earlier on about whether it was right, about it being moral, even though it's legal. The morals and principles, Jason, that is more fantasy these days, unfortunately. Families are decimated. You've not got family networks anymore. Where people might have been made homeless, they'd have had family who would have looked after them one way or another. Be it even with a fucking tent in the back garden at the very least, you always had family, but you've not got that. You've not got that network anymore because family have, well, they disowned each other because of social engineering. It's just the way families have gone because, you know, there's no stay-at-home parents or anything like that anymore. And we know that that was part of an agenda to tax people and all this kind of stuff. This is why it's so tiring to even speak to people who say there's nothing in it, because they're looking at maybe one aspect of what is going on in the world. If you're looking at one aspect, just don't bother. Just give up. If you're only thinking there's one aspect of something that's wrong, and that aspect isn't linked to everything that's going on in the world through that banking system, then I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start with you.
Yeah, it has been going on for quite a while, and I also think that that's probably one of the reasons why Muslims are vilified, and why there are, you know, in the press it's Muslims this and Muslims that, and you get the right wing, and they are saying that, you know, Muslims are wanting to bring Sharia law in. But I think the reason that they're vilified is because they've got a good, strong family unit. There'll be 3, 4, 5 generations. Sorry, 5. I mean, that's just a fucking ridiculous. But 2 or 3 generations in the same house, all living together. A grandmother, the parents, and you know, and the kids. They'd all they'd be living together, and you know, that sense of family and that sense of community is it's really strong, and it's a danger to the people that are trying to make us, you know, into this fucking. Got no time whatsoever for anything else other than trying to earn some promissory notes.
Exactly, and that division starts somewhere, but the division is continued with us. We continue that divide instead of saying no, stop. You know, the factor is that people do not sit in families anymore. Families are not sacred. We can. You could bring in religion, because religion was meant to keep it all families and keep that sanctuary, if you like. Religion was always going to be bastardized because it's man-made. It's based on scripture, based on God's words, but it's man that's then changed that. You know, man's put things into a lot of doctrines. You know, man can take a 3-year-old bride if you look in certain doctrines. So is that okay because it's written down by man? Again, it comes back to the legal stuff. The firstborn child must be sacrificed. Look, it's written down. It's legal. This is part of a belief system. And I believe the belief system is the one that needs to be challenged. But if you've got a belief in something, then you've got to challenge your own beliefs.
So would you say, what would you say? Would you say that it's better, from my point of view, I know that religion can be exercised as used as a control tool.
Yep.
But I also think that us being dragged away from religion is a part of what they want. So the religion, we see it as, oh well, it's just some fucking idiot in a dress that's fucking telling us that God loves us and all this sort of shit. But so we're being dragged away from that. So we're being separated from religion, and we're also do you think that it's that the religion is worse than the separation of the religion, and that, because, you know, people might not find themselves, might not class themselves as religious and you know, would know the Bible inside out, but they would base their behavior loosely on the things that are taught in the Bible. Now, they might not be religious. So do you think that it helps them more? And these are the people that are trying to divide us up. Does it help them more if we are more interested in religion, or if we are just like discarding it? completely.
I think you're as effective from both angles if you're coming from a religious point of view, as in religion, because I mean the religion isn't aimed at, I would say, it isn't aimed at families. It's the religion doctrine. I mean, you've still got people who think that they can pay money to get a place in heaven, you know, to get rid of all the sins. If that is your doctrine, then that is playing right into their hands. If on the other hand, what you're saying is you're atheist and you're completely not interested, then I would say again, you're completely playing into their hands, because what the system and what both of those doctrines seem to do to me, Jason, is do their best to direct you away from a creator to a man-made system. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, something man-made rather than
it's designed to undermine what faith, because obviously it's all based on faith, because nobody can prove anything. Somebody could ask me, do I believe in an afterlife? And I'll say, yes, I know there's an afterlife. And they'll say, prove it to me. And I can't do that. I can only say I know. And I still can't prove it.
In a sense, so no, fuck off, prove it to your syndicate.
Yeah, that's it. But that's what I'm saying. I can't do that. But when you've got a religious doctrine that says you must do certain things and attend a certain building and all this kind of stuff, and if you don't fulfill all that, then you fail. That means you're putting all your faith into a man-made thing where a man tells you you've failed.
Yeah, but it's human nature, right? Let's just say, for example, somebody they run their life and they say, I read the Bible, I know all this stuff, and this is how I live my life. There are certain points, and you know we all do this. It's human nature. But what we'll do is we'll do something which is against what we claim to be about, or something that's morally incompatible with what we're told we do. You know what we should do, and so it's natural for people to make excuses for that, for people to reframe something that they're doing, which might go against what they perceive to believe in, and they go against it, but they'll naturally reframe that in such a way that they're able to sleep at night and to be able to do what they want to do. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? It's quite. Human nature gets in the way of all this. That's the problem with all these things. You know, you want to. I live by the Bible, but in the end, human nature gets in the way, and I think it's how you deal with the things that human nature presents to you that judges your character. I don't know. I'm just probably talking out my arse.
Well, I feel that the human nature thing. I mean, I've always had an ability from being very young to think. When I sit and I think, I can ask questions and I can get answers. Even as a child, I didn't understand the answers and the questions I was getting. And then life takes over and you start to make all the decisions based on this reality. You don't have any spiritual input whatsoever. And then at that point, I started to look for something spiritual, and I started to find things. I was doing tarot readings, I was doing all kinds, but everything in the end brought me back to the Bible. Anything spiritual brought me back to the Bible to read, and I was directed to Revelations on so many occasions, Jason. I can't tell you, because it makes me sound like I'm stood on a fucking mountain smashing my face into a Bible. That's not the case. It's just all my research, everything that I was doing, where I was looking, where I was researching, I was looking for something that was missing in my soul, because this world can't fulfill what is missing. That is why so many people go down so many dead ends and invest so much into this reality. There's nothing in this reality that I should be investing all my energy to make me happy. If I'm looking outside, I'm looking at the place.
You shouldn't be apologising for I mean, Bible, whether you believe it or not, whether you believe it word for word or whatever. Yeah, it's a great guide to for moralistically. Speaking of, listen, I found a new word this week as well. I just wanted to share with our viewers. And do you know what? I think this is a goer. I think this probably should be in the Oxford English Dictionary. But it was they were interviewing a guy after this Cardiff thing, the player that's gone missing on his plane, and the reporter asked him, "What's the mood like around Cardiff?" And he said, "There's an air of unbelievement."
No air of unbelievement.
Unbelievement. An air of unbelievement. And I think that's a goer. I think that's a good word. I think we should use that. I think that should be in Oxford English Dictionary, invented by a guy from Cardiff on Sky Sports News last week. But yeah, an air of unbelievement. Yeah, I think we're going to put that forward and try and get that in the Oxford English Dictionary. Hey, listen, you're listening to Raconteurs News. It's myself and Paul. There's nobody showed up for our guest show tonight, but we will have somebody tomorrow. I've got a guy lined up as well who's done a video, and hopefully he'll be on. I'm hoping to get him on Wednesday. That might mean a show being delayed from a Tuesday until a Wednesday, but I want to do it live because it's always best to get somebody on live. But he's a guy who's got a theory about the Mandela effect and how we all died in 2012, and I'd really like to get him on. So I'm sorting that out. We've got Pippa King on February the 19th of February. Pippa King is on. I'm also in talks with Neil Sanders as well, as you probably heard earlier on, but he's thrown his back out. I don't know what he's been doing. He's probably playing on a bouncy castle or something like that. But anyway, he's thrown his back out, and we'll get him on very, very soon. Webby, have you got anybody lined up? Anybody interested in your sites that we're trying to get on to our end in the near future?
Yeah, again, she's so busy. I'm trying to nail her down. Michelle Young, I spoke to her again last week. She was hoping to get on the show before the end of the month, but there's a lot of stuff moving with the court cases that are going on down there. It's difficult to some people. It's difficult to get them down to times, particularly between 7 and 9 on a Monday and Tuesday. Gareth Ike, he's more than happy to come on, but obviously we were waiting until after New Year, and we've had a few guests on, so I'll just put the feelers out, see what other guests we can get on. But again, we ask anybody who's listening, get in touch. If you've got stuff to come on and talk about, come and talk about it. Have some substance though. Don't come on and talk about stuff.
Yeah, super leads. I've got also this. Somebody I was talking to before Christmas, somebody who's from the Yellow Jacket campaign in Spain, somebody who's close to, in France, fucking Spain. All the girls in Spain wash their knickers in champagne. Cerebra Sana, I spoke to her or him, I can't remember which it is, but one of our listeners gave us the details, and I've been in touch. And the last message I got was, thanks for contacting. I'll be pleased to be a guest on your show. But obviously things have got in way since then. So I will be what first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find out whether they're male or female, because I don't want to misgender them. But I really can't remember. So whoever the person is that sent me the link, can you just tell me whether it's male or female? Because I don't want to make an ass of myself any more than I already do.
I was going to say too late.
All right. Well,
hey, I was meant to bring it up ages ago, but going back to the Holocaust, because you were talking about the Memorial Day, articles from nearly every mainstream newspaper that I read was something like 1 in 20 don't believe it of the British public. They're actually articles that people do not believe. That means people have got questions. It doesn't mean that they want to piss on anybody, any people's graves or any memories or anything. It means people have got questions, and people should be allowed to ask those questions, no matter what it is.
But you know, though, Paul, you know that.
Exactly. I mean, there's a debate raging now because of the Jamie Bulger murder. That's just been, they've just made a film out of that. That's up for Oscars, and the family's not been contacted whether they should make a film about it.
Sick in it.
Yeah, we are going to do it, and now it's up for Oscars, and the lad who's portrayed these killers are up for Oscars. Now, you know, I don't know. I really don't know what you talk about with timescales to give a bit of time, but to not even get in touch with the family or anything. Though there's something, you know, it's like they want to portray that society doesn't really give a fuck about you. You can't report anything to the police. They're not coming to see you. You might get a crime number, you might not. If your first language is English, you're not a priority by the police. You just hearing those things makes you think, what country am I in? Seeing articles that John Wedger came on and told us last year, Jason, that the ambulance, fire service and police were going to be amalgamated. They're advertising for jobs now. Would you like to be a fireman, paramedic, or a policeman? And it's one fella for all three jobs. That's what they're doing. So it'll start off with that paramedic who was an ambulanceman, but now he's a first priority paramedic. Well, he can also fight fires because that's what the firefighters do in America. He can also be a copper then as well. We could give it him all. This is, you know, it's all been told to us, Jason. We're not coming out with revelations every week, Jason. We're reading what they say they're going to do, and we're saying this is what they're going to do. And everybody comes on and says that's a load of bullshit. And then months later they go, well, maybe tell us about this. It's not magic. You're just reading what they are going to do. That's it.
And it is crazy. It is fucking crazy. And of course, then you get like, you know, fucking silly little Irish pricks who just want to demonize social workers without any fucking, you know, without any evidence and putting people's lives at risk. But we'll probably not talk about that at this specific moment in time. Let's play a record. It's halfway through. I'm going to play a record. Thank you, everybody. Let's have a look who's in the chat room. Thanks to everyone who's in the chat room as well. Fucking hell, I've lost you all now. Here we go. We got Super Leaders in there, Committed Escaper, 110112558, Stewie. Good evening to you, Apple Charlotte as well. All the usual suspects are in there. Get yourself into. Somebody sent me a text, a message after the last show asking how they can get into the chat room. So it's pretty easy. Sign into YouTube, and you'll be able to get in the chat room and interact with it. Great magic people in there. I don't want to be, sucking your dicks or anything, but it always seems to be a really nice atmosphere in there, and people really getting on and no bollocks really, which is what we want. No bollocks. It's a no bollocks zone. It's Raconteurs News. I'm going to play a record and then we'll be back in about 3 minutes. Take it easy.
I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. My arms look Behold the dole-king malnutrition dulls my hair. My eyes are black and lifeless with an unprivileged stare. I'm the beggar on the corner, will no one spare a dime. A child that never learned to read, cause no one spares the time. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. The victim, I'm licensed to a gun. I'm a sad, bruised old lady in an alley or in a slum. I'm a middle-aged businessman with chronic heart disease. I'm another teenage suicide in a street that has no trees. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. Third world mother, refugee without a home. I'm a housewife hooked on Valley, I'm a pensioner alone. I'm a cancer-ridden specter, discovering the earth. I'm another hungry baby, I'm an accident at birth. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care. I am a 1 in 10, a number on a list. I am a 1 in 10, even though I don't exist. Nobody knows me, but I'm always there. Statistical reminder of a world that doesn't care.
And welcome back to Raconteurs News on this Monday evening. It's the 28th, it's my sister's birthday. How could I forget this? 28th of January, April, that's my fucking birthday. 28th of January, there's a naked man walking behind me. Pay no attention to that man. He's simply a ghost. Yeah, welcome back. We're no guests tonight. We're just having a bit of a chat between ourselves. Paul, how are you, mate? Did you enjoy that little musical interlude that we had there?
I do. I'm enjoying East music more and more. I listen to it. I've still not received what I asked you to send me yet. I said send me some stuff so I could have a listen to some of it.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I shall do that either
man.
tonight after we're finished here, or tomorrow morning. But I'll definitely send you some great tunes Eve's got there, and hopefully plenty more in 2019 for us. Can you see him? Naked man behind us. It's not naked. He's got my pants on as well, by the way.
A naked man with your pants on? Wow. You're weird, you lot in Yorkshire.
If you let me explain to you, then I'll explain it.
It's not a good enough story if I let you explain it, or is it?
With this leg, it's difficult to get like long trousers. So I went and bought some jogging bottoms yesterday, and they were too small. So now the stepson's gone. So there you go. That's my story this weekend. That's our shopping experience this weekend. That's what's gone off here in the Holmes household. And of course, Watson has still got his bollocks as well. So, hey, kid, you all right? Yeah.
Lucky lad.
He is a very lucky lad because do you know what? As well, when I was taking him and I went to the wrong place, he knew he got under my seat. So he was in the back of the car. Normally he's like, up on seat and he's up and he wants to be watching and doing it. But he got under my seat. I think he knew. So I don't know whether or not. We'll have some sort of, we'll have some clarification. He's booked in for the February the 4th. But at the moment, I'm a little bit minded to let him keep his testicles. He lets me keep mine.
Well, that's if he's not getting you filled in the park.
yeah.
So where do you want to go? Where do you want to go this half? Because go on.
I've been sort of ignoring. What's Brexit wise? What's the news Brexit wise? Are we got a plan B and are we going to be
nothing? Absolutely nothing. There's nothing coming out. That's what I'm saying. If you want to talk about stuff, we go backwards to Brexit. Brexit's not being spoke about right now. Why? Why is it not being spoken about?
No, you would imagine it was the number one issue in this country at the moment. That's what you would think.
Well, they're looking at now. They are talking about martial law. It's been mentioned again today in articles about implementing martial law. What people don't realise is we've been under martial law for a couple of hundreds of years.
That's interesting. That isn't it? The martial law thing. It's like it seems that everything's been brought out to. We're told that there's probably not going to be any food, and there's not going to be any of this, and there's not going to be any of that, and you're going to have to queue up for hours and hours to get on a flight to go somewhere, and all this sort of shit. How did we even cope before we were in the EU?
That's what I'm saying. Somebody posted that in 30 years ago we had all these certain things. We never had any of them, what they posted. And for 30 years, this government's been working against us. This government's always worked. The government has always worked against us. They don't work for us. They're meant to, but we don't hold them to task over any of that. We just go, we'll vote for them and then let it go. And then cry and piss and moan when it doesn't work in our favour. It's because we've got to grow up, Jason. We've got to take responsibility and hold the people who are claiming to represent us. We've got to hold them to account.
Yeah, my dog wants to go out. It's just. I
heard that. I didn't know if it was Charlie telling you something.
Charlie, here we go.
Charlie says,
cat flap up. He always does it. He's a wanker. He fucks the cat flap up. He fucking goes at it. Cats don't even use it anymore because they're too fucking frightened on him. So,
I'm gonna say you have got a cat, haven't you?
We've got two cats.
Well, at least there's Geeta cat. There's no point having a cat flap with no cat.
Well, no, this is true. This is true. Although it makes you wonder why some people have got piss flaps. Sorry.
Oh, well, you always let yourself down. You're going to talk about them being boarded up next.
I'm terrible, aren't I? I'm terrible. I just can't help myself. It's just something that's
like
in
Tourette's. I think it's Tourette's. I don't know if it's a Yorkshire thing, but it's definitely Tourette's.
Well, you wouldn't understand it. It is a Yorkshire thing.
Yeah, I wouldn't understand it.
You wouldn't understand it. You think of something and you've got to fucking say it.
You know what it was? It was those penines. It separated us and gone, listen, get those thick fuckers right over the...
get them thick fuckers right over there in Lancashire. Up against the West Coast. Oh God, it's a good job we've got like a love relationship rather, because people could take it that we're not keen on each other. It's just complete and utter nonsense.
I'll tell you what though, Jason, if we were going to start hating each other because of geographics, then again, there isn't actually much point in talking to people. I've seen one young lad's life get changed over the weekend because he got cut from his eye right down to his mouth at Millwall at the Den.
Yeah,
for a football game. for a fucking football game. This is fucking stupid. These are childish pricks that they need to be getting rid of out of humanity. If you want to cut somebody's face open over a game, there's something not right with you.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I know there were some problems between Millwall and Everton, weren't it? So
that was it. He's been cut from his mouth right up to his eye. He's been stitched all the way down, and he said it's changed my life. Of course, it's changed your fucking life. But if you're going to do that over a game, man, wow.
Well, the strange thing is that this week I discovered that somebody who was in the next bed to me when I were in hospital has died last year. Sorry, I think he died at the end of November. But he was a big football supporter, he was a big Wednesday fan, and he used to go to games. He went to every game, and it just sort of reminds you how it were a bit of a wake-up call for me, because the guy were in the fucking next bed to me. I was talking to his wife when I were being discharged. Me and my missus were talking to his wife, and she obviously had a lot of experience about being in the hospital at the same time, and we're giving us advice. And to find out that he died this week, I mean, we're 59, which is no age really. I mean, it's only 10 years older than I am now. But it's just one of them things, whereas it sort of brings it.
It's a mortality check, isn't it? It's
a
mortality check for you.
Yeah, and it would. I don't know if anybody who follows football will, or in the lower leagues, will know that we've got a famous supporter called Tango, who always has his top off, and he's from Wolverhampton, but he's a Wednesday supporter. He comes to every game, he goes home and away, and he always don't wear a top, never wears a top, whether it's fucking freezing cold or whatever. But I remember him from back in the day, from sort of 1991 when we won League Cup. I first saw him at Derby, but he was the carer for this guy that were in the next bed to me over the summer, and it's really sad to hear that he's died. And like you say, it's a mortality check, and it does make you so. Rest in peace, Alan Ween. That's all I'm going to say. Rest in peace, mate. And I hope you've got your feet back, because he didn't have any feet.
I'm sure he must have got his feet back. Sure.
Oh, you know what? The funny thing is since I had my leg amputated, now, when I'm having a dream, I can walk without this leg. It's really weird. I'm just walking normally without this leg in my dreams.
What leg have you got in your dream?
I don't have a leg. It's just my stump, but I'm still walking as if I've got my leg attached to my body. It's really, really weird. And I've there's times when I've gone, look at me, I ain't even got a leg and I'm walking at people, to people when I'm,
in your dream,
whatever. So it
actually makes sense to me. That dream actually makes sense to me.
Honestly, mate, listen,
it really does.
I walk about as if I've still got my leg, but I haven't, and I'm like, going, look at me, I can walk even without this leg. It's really, really, really a weird sensation, but I suppose it's my way of compensating and being able to deal with what this fucking shit. Well, it's not really shit, really. It's just chop your leg off, and I can do this, and I didn't used to be able to do this before. That's me holding my leg up, like, there we go. Didn't used to be able to do that before. It looks really weird, but anyway,
it's like playing a guitar. That
I could do, could I? Yeah, I could.
Hey, see, Richie Allen can't do that on his radio show, can he?
Well, no,
he can't just pick his leg up and go wailing away on it.
It probably could, though, because he used to be in mainstream media, and his background is in mainstream media, and he's I've been itching to get on to him, and I just want to look. We're here. right? This me and you, we're talking. Andy was here before. Adie's been on the show. You know, we have guests on. We talk and stuff like that. We're not something that we're not trying to be something that we're not. Right? I've got no background in media. You've got no background in media. We just do this show and we just put it on. Now, I've got no problem with Richie Allen. No, right, I fucking have. I hate him as a wanker. But
is it not you that got the problem? Have you got a problem with yourself, Jason? And you're projecting?
That's probably it. Yeah, I've probably got a problem with myself. Yeah, but with Richie, let me just give you an example. The other week, I sometimes listen to Richie Allen. When I'm cooking and I've got my TV in kitchen and what have you, and I'll put it on YouTube and I'll put a show on, see what he's doing, see what he's saying. And I was listening the other day, and this is the thing with it. He was saying, I've got the biggest, listened to audience in the independent media, and verifiably, I don't brag about it. I don't brag about it every fucking day, but it brings that sort of shit up. And you know what? It were fucking weird, because I was stood in kitchen and I'm cooking, and he was going on some sort of tirade. He was going on some sort of rant about having the biggest audience, and I think it must have been last Wednesday or something, last Tuesday or Wednesday or something. But that was the day we broadcast. But it was going on, and he went, "Do you know why I've got the biggest audience in the independent media?" And just at that very moment, my missus walked into the kitchen and went, "David Icke." My missus don't she that's somebody who's a lay person. She don't listen to the independent media. She listens to us when we're talking, but we're not independent media. We're just a pair of clothes.
So what are you saying, Jason? Are you saying that Rich Allen may have rode on David Icke's coattails? Is that what you're intimating?
Well, if he says I've got the largest audience in the independent
in Europe,
then and he says, "Do you know why?" And it's like, I sent him a tweet last night. Let me read this tweet I sent him. I sent this tweet to him last night because he's been really pissing me off lately. And I thought, let's try and engage him. So I sent him a tweet saying, blah, blah, blah. Where are we? I sent him a tweet saying something about, because he was talking about fucking social workers and all that fucking wank shit that he talks about all fucking time. He's got no fucking idea about what a social worker has to do, what a social worker's life is a fucking about, and yet he just wants to just have a go fucking constantly. I can't fucking find it.
See, I see both sides of the social worker stuff. I know people who are working with social workers, and the ones that they do actually get to speak to, those social workers actually try and bend over backwards. But those good people, their hands are tied. When it's coming down to the profits, that's where we're losing things, Jason. Because when you put it on, the more kids incur, the more profit a company makes, and you're hiring private companies, just subcontracting private companies, which are all based on profit. They've got to say, well, this business model must have kids incur for us to make money.
Yeah, of course they do. But also, if you know a social worker, you'll know that there isn't a single fucking social worker that will deliberately go and I just wish I could say more. I just wish I could say more, because I just can't. But, to suggest that social workers are collecting children simply because of the money. Like, I know that the money happens. I know that there is money in children being separated from the families. But I don't think that there's a single social worker that would separate a family simply based upon money or something like that.
I don't think the individual social worker would, but I think the system would enforce a social worker, and if that social worker would not be the one to carry that out, that social worker would be replaced by somebody who would carry it out.
You see, that's not my experience.
No, I'm not saying that that's my experience. What I'm saying is when you've got a profit for children being run, that is the model that it will evolve into. My experience is I know people who run fosters, who foster children. I've known people who run it as a business. Those kids don't get anything of that money. They get treated as a commodity, and they get through with whatever they need. Whereas I know people who take that money for those children and put it into a bank account. And if there's something that is destroyed or that needs fixing that can't be replaced, and it is the child's fault, they'll take it out of that. Whichever way, that money is now being built up as a nest egg. A lot of these kids, some in particular, they won't get any of that kind of help. They're not even, social services aren't engineered to individually help every single child. Some kids fall through the gaps. A lot of kids are generally spread about. Yet there's some where kids are picked up by genuine families who want to help them.
So what do we do? What do we do then? Do we get? Because I know foster carers, and I know foster carers who care. I really do. I personally, I know foster carers who actually care and do things, and I also know social workers that care as well. And listen, believe me, I've seen both sides of social work. I've seen the wankers that are fucking in positions and doing crap and not doing what's right by the child or the children or whatever. But I've also seen the other side as well. It's just that when you get like Richie Allen and you'll get somebody on it, he'll get somebody on his show, and it'll be somebody who's got a sob story that the child were taken, and I do believe that this happens, that children get taken that shouldn't necessarily be taken, but he just offers that side. There's no counter argument. I did a show. There is a show on YouTube. If you go back, I can't remember when I did it. Do you remember? I did it. Must have been last year, sometime last year. Well, it were last year anyway. But I did a show where I took Richie Allen's show and I did a critique of it, and for the whole 2 hours. That was what it was. It was. I just did it on my own. It was when I was doing the show on my own. It's just one of my bugbears. That's all. It's just one of my bugbears.
It's got to be talked about, though, Jason. It's got to be able to be talked about in an open forum, because we know that there are good social workers, and we know that fundamentally the system, the people that work in the system don't want to take children unless they need help. The problem being is when you are edging that more children in care means more profit. If it's profit led, it inevitably goes to more children going into care. If that means that the people that you're talking about, the ones who care, if it means that they need to be taken out of that system and replaced, then that's what will happen, and what I would say is the aim. The trouble being is there's far too many good people that still want to help in this world. I've said it many times. There's still good people in the judiciary system, in politics, in police, but they've got to draw their own line. And we've talked about this so many times. It's if they get punched in the face and kicked in the balls, that's when they'll draw the line. I've spoken to many MPs now. I've spoken to a few MEPs. I've tried to talk about, get ready for your bingo. I've tried to talk to them about bills of exchange.
Hey, house.
And they're not interested. Yeah, I'm telling you now, Jason, if you ran a campaign based on that and telling people that in a debt-based economy, they need to set off debt, and you're willing to show them how to do it, or at least get the information so we could all learn how to do it, you'd win, hands down. but nobody's got balls.
No, interesting. Listen, we've got some. Andy's been sending me a message. Andy, remember him, don't you? Andy,
hang on, is it something to do with the little cog on the right-hand side?
No, it's not. No, the little cock on the right-hand side. It's not like that. Andy's just sent me a message. I think this is somebody who's posted in chat. Stuart Headington. I don't bother to listen to One Flew Over Richie Allen's Nest anymore. So that's one or two. Listen, I've got no against Richie Allen. I just wish he was this. He tries to portray himself as this balanced, real journalist. In fact, that's what I sent to him last night. I sent him a message saying, "Real journalist, my arse." Because he spouts off that he's a real proper journalist, and all these mainstream media people don't. And I don't want to get into a fucking argument. I don't want to get into a fight with him. I just want him to just fucking. He has got this. No matter what you say, he's got this huge audience, and this huge audience is not doing himself any favors when he's just bashing on fucking usual crap, fucking social workers, banging on about them. They're taking kids. And they're being paid to get kids. Fucking wish, duh.
Wait, I suppose technically speaking, he's correct. But the trouble is that there's focusing on stuff like that is kind of not focusing on stuff that is related to that. And again, none of these radio show hosts. None of them, apart from this show, talk about money and the debt-based economy. None of them. I don't get it, Jason. These are meant to be intelligent people who are awake and got an understanding. Yet they still talk about money. They still talk about saving money.
Do you think it's controlled? Do you think I know we're not controlled, and I know that Cookie Monster's not controlled, and I did see Steve the other day. Steve, let me get his Steve Turgoose. He's definitely not controlled as well. I had a good look at his show on Saturday night as well. But these big ones, whenever they get to a certain level, they become controlled. And I also wanted to ask you. You'd said. And I don't want to be talking out of place, but I'm going to say it anyway, because fuck it, that's me. But you were talking about Dan Bostock, and you'd asked him on again. Again, another one who seems to have got to a certain level and now has, there are 1,000,001 questions I'd like to ask him, but I don't anticipate being able to get him on show to be able to ask him. Do you think the whenever somebody gets any good, they take over?
I don't know. Jason is the honest answer to that. We've had so many private chats about potential guests, and even guests that we've had on in the past, and guests who we were looking to get on. We don't know these people. That's the biggest thing about all this. Everybody who we talk to, I've been friends with some of these people on Facebook for a long time. We're not friends. We're Facebook friends. I don't know these people. These people don't know me. So at the end of the day, until you actually speak to people, you don't get anything of an understanding of these people. And sometimes people come on, and it doesn't matter how much, whatever question you ask, you won't get to the answer of the question that you want to raise, because they'll always answer it a different way. We've had politicians on this show quite a few times, cannot answer questions straightforward. For me, I've not spoken with Danny. I've interacted with him over emails, and it's always been a case of logistics, childcare issues and stuff like that to get him on the show. At the end of the day, neither of us can chase people and drag people onto the show. If you want to come on and have a chat, come on. If you don't, fine. Don't keep saying yell, come on, yell, come on, yell, come on, if you've no intention of it. I'll carry on for as long as it takes, if you're being genuine and saying, look, this has happened, that's happened. But I won't, you know, I've put the question out again. I'm not even, as far as I was aware, he's not even seen the message at the minute. But it's one of them. If he doesn't come on, he doesn't come on. But then, as you were saying, it does raise questions that some people will get to a certain level of popularity. I've known quite a few. They get to a certain level of popularity, and then something happens to either they change what they're doing, or they disappear, or something like that. And it's hard to put your finger on, because without asking those people questions and getting some answers, you're just making shit up, aren't you, all the time?
Yeah. You see, people might get the impression that I want Dan Bostock to come on this show because I want to grill him. I want to, you know, out him as some sort of fucking shill or whatever. But I don't. I just genuinely want to ask him questions. How did you go from being a guy that were making videos and got 40,000 subscribers on YouTube, and you were making videos about how to get, you know, I think the last video that I watched of him, he was getting out of a car park. He was just coming out of a car park behind somebody, tailgating, and getting out and without paying. And that's the sort of thing I wanted to ask him. How did you go from making videos like that to being what seemed to be, you seem to turn far right, and you seem to, these are just questions that I want to ask. I'm not wanting to have a row with him. These are just genuinely questions that I'd love to ask him.
Yeah, well, again, it's about, I mean, it is the stuff that he was doing, his videos improved, everything improved. I'd like to know what he was using, how he got to use all that stuff, because I'd like to see us improve on what we've got. If we could, you know, it might be something, and nothing that he's used, it might be a bit of software that we could all use in. But the factor was he did become very popular, and he was very good at what he did. He targeted he targeted certain demographics, and he brought a lot of issues forward that you could debate and talk about. That's why I wanted him on the show, because he was actually touching on the debates. I will agree with you on the fact that he did go well to, I don't even know when we say far right, what that actually entails these days. But he did become very Tommy Robinson pro everything that Tommy Robinson was. And it was like, it was in that ilk, and it wasn't that before. So I understand what you're saying, that there was a shift. How much of it was intentional, or whether it was just a flowing thing, I don't know. But like you said, until we actually speak to people, we don't know these things. It's not about, this platform's not about getting people on so we can shout people down and try and prove people wrong, or prove them to be this, that, or the other. It's about coming on and talking. You disagree with me, I disagree with you. Right, why do we disagree? Let's get it out in the open. This is my point of view. That's your point of view. What is it we actually disagree on? And a lot of the time, we're not actually disagreeing with each other. We're going to the same place, and we're disagreeing on minor points. And while we're disagreeing on those minor points, these fuckers are still stealing everything. And we've got to grow up. We've got to grow up and get past that. If we don't, then it's too easy for them to keep putting a bogeyman in front of us and saying, oh, you better be scared of it.
Isn't part of that, you know, that growing up you're talking about, and I advocate that, because I've been talking about this since me and Andy first started this show, is that people are kept in a state of perpetual adolescence.
Yeah.
You know, you find the same things funny when you're 19 as you do when you're 49. You find the same things funny. You're kept in this state of perpetual adolescence. I completely agree with you on that. It's just that, you know, we can't grow as a society unless we can question people on what they and you know what, it's not so much to question, it's the answer that you're going to get, whether that answer is an intelligent, erudite answer that answers what you're asking, or whether it's just some sort of ad hominem crappy fucking soundbite that that people get. And that's why I want people like, that's why we want people that we disagree with on. We want people like Dan. We've had people that would describe themselves as far right on this show, and we've been able to talk to them, and and we've been called lefties and all that, but that's about as bad as it's been, isn't it? We've been called lefties, and you can understand that, because we'd spoken to Dave. And we understood where he was coming from and the level that he was at. It was understandable for him to then label us as lefties, because he didn't really have any other idea of what he could categorize us as. No. So I really that's when you got someone like Dave Sumner, and he'll come on. And he'll put his point of view across, and he'll be able to explain it to you. And don't matter whether you agree with it or not, it's the fact that he's able to explain how his thinking has got to the point whereas, he thinks in that way. And that's what I wanted to do with Dan Bostock, really, is just sort of get to that. How is this? If you did, I wanted to dig and say, and I wanted to really get to the bottom of whether they were genuinely his ideas. It was a genuine belief of his, or whether it's something that had been implanted. And it would be so easy to do that, because if you purport to believe in something simply because you've been told to, there's no way that you can defend that, and there's no way that you would be able to explain to somebody else the reasons why, because you don't know them yourself. That's what I wanted Dan on for.
Yeah, I agree, Jason. You need to get people on who are doing stuff. I mean, we've had so many people on who've come from nowhere, made some kind of a name for themselves, and they come on and they tell us what they did, where they started, how they. I mean, so much of it has been like what we did, and I would have expected Danny's to be exactly the same. But there does seem to be that point where there's a little bit more quality in the production. That is, it's gone up a level in production, and I see it throughout a lot. I've mentioned so many times about people in this truth movement that has come out of nowhere, and they've got a couple of, they've got maybe 80,000 viewers, 100,000 viewers or subscribers to the YouTube. I've never even heard of them up until last year. Yeah, here they are at rallies and protests, and I'm going, I don't even know, you've never even heard of you yet. They've got all these followers. Now, what is it that they're doing that's different? What access are they getting? What platforms are they getting promoted on that we aren't? It's, as we said this time last year, could be just me and you sat here talking shit. Yet it's not happening for these people who come from nowhere and they've got hundreds of thousands of viewers, and they're talking about stuff, yet they seem to miss the key stuff. It's like talking to an MEP who's telling me all about, the government's this, the government's that, and then as soon as you bring up debt-based economy and how simple it is, if you've got control of that money supply, is to change the world. Never mind this country, to take control of that money supply, Jason. It would just ease everybody's problems. Problems would just go overnight. You'd forgive the debt. You'd take control of the money supply. The company, the UK PLC, would be run on behalf of its shareholders, which are us. That's all that needs to change, is the business is run for us and not the opposite way around. The masters have become servants, and we must grow up and act properly, and we need to learn how to do that. And that's the struggle. That's the struggle at the minute.
A big hello to everyone in the chat room. Super Leeds has put in there. Can we see Watson's balls again? Can we see Watson's balls again, please? So where you go? He's asleep. Poor old Watson is asleep. His balls are asleep as well.
Leave
so
his balls alone.
We'll show them you tomorrow night. So Super Leeds, you're going to have to visualise Watson's balls for this evening, but I'm sure you'll be able to do that simply as well. And who have you been asking to marry you this week? I don't know, but anyway, he's a good old Super Leeds is a serial proposer, shall we call him, in there. And hello to everyone in the chat room. Listen, give us a bit of a thumbs up as well if you want in on the YouTube channel. It's great to see everybody who's in there getting well caught up in playing along with the game that we have in the chat room of an evening. God, I'm fucking talking out my arse, aren't I? I'm just like rambling like a wanker.
You're really good at it, though.
I am good at it, aren't I?
Yeah.
You know, because my background is in
Chatting shit.
But I've got anybody who don't know me. My background is in talking out of my arse rubbish, which I've been doing for nearly a couple of hours. We've got about 15 minutes left, Webby. We've got 18 minutes left. 18 minutes left. What are we going to do for this last 18 minutes? Are you thinking?
I'm just going through a few articles now because you know it's trying to bring some perspective to what's going on for people who are listening and who haven't got a clue. I mean, maybe a lot of people who do listen have got a clue of what's happening, but this economy, you've got to start somewhere with understanding what a debt-based economy is. If you can get your head around that, you will get an understanding of where you sit in this economy and what it is you actually do. You're trading your toil and sweat for equity. You're not getting paid, you're getting equity. That is a share, that is your reason. So everything that you work for is built up for you to then be able to take, as in pensions and stuff like that, when you've done your bit and somebody else replaces you in your job. That's how the system's meant to work in this debt-based economy. We've just got to take control of it, Jason, and that means to start talking to each other. And you've got to start talking to each other at local levels. There's no point keep packing a bag and going down to London and doing a peaceful protest, which is legal. It's not going to change anything. Going down there and fighting and blowing everything up is not going to change anything because that's what we train for.
We've got to take the real power that we've got. We've been tricked out of it.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about, like, you know, back in the day, forums, and I keep banging on about this, but forums are the way to go because nothing gets censored. You see everything that's posted and you can read it if you want, and you don't have to if you don't want to. It's not taken away. That decision's not taken away from you. And I think that what we need to do is we need to remove ourselves from social media and go back to a more basic thing, whether it's a forum, whether it's a chat room, whether it's what were them things? These fucking hell, the news things that people used to comment on back in the day. You know, these sites, that's where we need to go because we've been trapped into social media and we don't see anything. I've got my own radio show, whatever you call it. Me and my mate, we do this radio show. It's called Paul Webster, all right? And we do this radio show. Now, for 3 days over the weekend, on Facebook, I didn't get a single notification. Nothing. Not one single notification. So nobody wanted to interact with me, yet I get emails all the time. I'm getting them all the time, and to be fair, I'm a wanker at fucking at replying to them, but I do get emails all the time. But I got nothing on social media, and so and I'm not trying to like big myself up and think, oh, I'm something that I'm not. But I would have thought that I would have got at least one notification on Facebook over the weekend in 3 days, and I didn't. Nothing.
Well, you've not been getting notifications when I've tagged you in stuff.
Yeah.
And so what I've had to do is I've had to log out and sign back in. Sometimes that refreshes the account, but I got threatened. I think it was yesterday. Now I'm lost on my days. I don't think it was today. Yesterday, Facebook warned me because I was posting too quickly. You know, they're accusing me of being a bot because I post quickly. It's just that you've seen my news feed, Jason. It's post after post after post. I could go through a dozen straight one after the other and just post. So you're right. You're being censored for being too quick, to being too efficient, to actually spreading information too readily, too easily. You're actually being curtailed or punished to actually to spreading information. You've seen that with all the pubs in physicality, in reality, in the real world. All the pubs, the local pubs, the ones that were like, you know, a mid-terraced house turned into a pub where people would go from that row of houses for a pint and mix and talk about things that are happening in the town. I've got photographs being posted on websites about civil rights movements. The whole town is out on the town hall square listening, waiting for information about civil rights. We've lost all that, Jason.
Yeah.
You know, if I went and stood in the town hall square tomorrow with a bullhorn and started to shout about bills of exchange, the amount of people that would actually take interest, I think, if I got 5 people to listen, to just stop and listen, that would be staggering. Because people tend to think anybody who's shouting in the town is after something from them or nuts. And that's the attitude, what they've done with the division, the social media, the mainstream media. It's got people chasing each other. It's got people curtailing each other through what you were talking about before, political correctness. You can't say that. Why? Well, that's the Y word. What the fuck is the Y word? Young? Yell? What are we talking about? And then it goes to the N word. So the N word, no, never. Where do we stop with this? But because it's just a word. If you use that word, if I was to like use the word nigger and then demean a black person and demoralize them with that, that makes me a cunt. That's not about the word. That makes me a cunt.
Yeah.
It's a word. And that's what we've got to get away from, is the words. The words have no powers. If I back those words up with physical powers and wanting to dominate, that makes you a cunt. That's not about a word. And we've got to get away from these little words being used as such monumental battering rams, because people are sick of it, Jason. I'm sick of being told that I've got white privilege. I've never even known what white privilege was. You know, I just grew up with an hard-working family who worked 13 hours a day, 6 nights a week. You know, two of them working like that. That's my privilege. Well, they work fucking hard for my privilege, so I don't owe anybody anything apart from my parents.
That's the beauty of it, though, isn't it? Is that they will get somebody. You know, when you just said then, everything you just said, you know. You said the word nigger, and you've said all this stuff. But if they can get somebody to be offended by that, then that automatically becomes not you against the system or it's you against the other person.
Yes,
that's offended by it, and that's the beauty of the entire system.
Yes, and then you'll have other people telling you you can't do that. And then other people get onto you. And then what does that do? It puts you in a position where you're forced to say sorry. And if you're forced to say sorry, Jason, it's not sincere. You don't mean it. If I wanted to offend somebody and I said it to offend somebody, there is absolutely no way I would do that and then apologize. That makes me look a bell end. If I want to offend you and I'm that way inclined, I'm going to offend you. And then you can fuck off and deal with your offence. You can take your offence and sling it because I've offended you. But I cannot state, unless I actually state to you that I'm going to offend you, if you take an offence at anything I say, if you just take that offence and don't come and speak to me about it, then again, there's no communication. I can tell you what I specifically meant, and you go, you know what? That makes sense, that. I'm not offended anymore. But if you've not got the ability, if you just become offended, and then you're actually identifying with groups that have just become offended, then all of a sudden you don't think for yourself. You follow a crowd, and you become that sheep that you said that you wouldn't become. And you can go from group to group to group to group if you're following people. I don't want to follow anybody. I'll listen to your information, give me your information, but I'm not following you.
But it's very powerful tools as well, isn't it? I mean, you know, this. I'm guilty of it myself. I'm guilty of overplaying something that were offensive towards me, that I were offended by, but I did use it, and that was when, you know, that little arsewipe Garrett, when he said to me that he'd got 2 legs and a wife and 2 kids, and so he was better off than me. Right. Yeah. To be fair, it didn't really bother me that much, but I was, if you know, it did bother me, and I did want other people to know what a arse he were, what a wanker he were, but you know, it were very easy to try to use that in my favour, which in the end, I probably, if I do it again, I probably wouldn't even give time of day, wouldn't post anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah. It's easy to get dragged into that.
It does, but that. Yeah, but that almost puts you in the permanent victim position if you adopt that. If you say, oh, I'm offended now, you can use that because people. I was fucking angry that somebody would ring you out the blue like that who doesn't fucking know you and say that to you. That made me angry. But you know, it says so much about the people who are doing that. The factor is, you've got to be able to address that. If you can't talk about this stuff, and you know, he can say whatever he likes, but that gives you the right to reply. We said that about when all this started off, didn't we? But it's, I don't know, mate. Where do you draw the line with people? You know, people don't like what you talk about because it's not what they want to talk about, or it's not quite how they want to explain it. So you're always going to get that. You know, I've got friends and family who still think that I'm, you know, you still think you're a cunt because you're saying your gas is free. It's a childishness.
Don't tell them that fucking Earth's flat, man. They'll fucking have you.
Mate, I've already told them. They're not listening to me.
Fucking flat Earth, man. Flat Earth. Right, we've got about 6 minutes left for this evening. Tomorrow's going to be definitely going to be a show on. I don't know if we're going to have a guest or not. I'm trying to get somebody on, but there may be an extra show on Wednesday. So if there is an extra show, I might cancel tomorrow night's show, do the extra show on Wednesday. It's going to be live. We're going to have. I've got a guest lined up, but he works every day apart from Wednesdays. So and he's in America, so it's like it's during his daytime that our shows go out. So there may not be a show tomorrow night, but there will be. If there isn't one tomorrow night, there will be one on Wednesday, and we'll have a guest on. He's done a video. I think it's about the Mandela effect, and how his theory is that we all died in 2012 after an extinction level event, and the Mandela effect is all part of that sort of thing. Anyway, it's going to be really interesting. So I've been interacting with him on Twitter, and he works every day apart from Wednesdays. So I think we'll probably get him on Wednesday night. So I don't know if that's okay for you, Webby. Would that be all right?
Possibly not. Possibly not Wednesday. I don't know. There's an oral hearing coming up for council tax in March for 5 of us. So we've got a few meetings coming up there on Wednesday night. So we'll have to play it by ear, mate.
Yeah, we'll listen. No problem. If not, I can, I'll just do him on my own. But that should be really interesting. Hopefully it will be on Wednesday. So if there's no show tomorrow night, then Wednesday there will be a show from 7 till 9. As usual here on Raconteurs News, let's just say hello to some people before we go away. Before we will say hello to some people in the chat room. Joyce Green is in there. Why do... blah blah blah. Andy Young's in there. Super Leeds, Interfaith Vegan Alliance. That sounds interesting. Is in there as well in the chat room. Interfaith Vegan Alliance. Know all about that? Do you, Webby?
Nope, not a clue. But just looking through a few articles here now that UKIP are saying we're watching you. UKIP have issued leaflets threatening national traitors over Brexit.
Awesome.
So,
well,
and
you know where they need to start is the media. It's the media that's run all this. They cannot do. The politicians can't do anything without the media, and it's the media that needs to be the first to go down. Once the media goes down and we start getting some proper fucking shit, some proper news, and just give me Nicky Campbell. I'll just take him out. I'll just fucking take my leg off and whack him on the head with it. It's a big heavy fucking thing,
I'll tell you, you wouldn't have seen it, but there was an interview with the guy who runs Wetherspoons. I can't remember his name now off the top of my head.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
But he's a barrister, apparently. And Owen Jones went and met him in Wetherspoons and decided to do an interview, and just YouTube it. It's one of the most cringe-worthy interviews that you'll ever see, where the fella from Wetherspoons is actually, if he'd have had any cutlery in front of him, he'd have probably stabbed himself, if not Owen Jones, in the face. But the childishness of the questions, and he's going, I'm a barrister, Owen, and these questions that you're asking me are like so childish. This is the worst interview I've ever had. And then he comes out and finishes the interview off, with his usual roundup of it. And honestly, mate, it's cringeworthy. These MPs now, the likes of Anna Soubry, Owen Jones, all these dickheads who are coming out with all this bollocks, trying to get police to arrest people for harassment and for calling people names. It's gone. It's gone. The emperor is bollock naked, Jason.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? When you were mentioning what's his face, Owen Jones, I thought you were going to say he went and sucked him off.
More than possibly.
Because he's just like this fucking little piece of shit, innit? Don't he writes for Guardian, I think. He's not an MP. He's just a member at Labour Party. But
he's a member of the Labour Party. You're right.
That's right. I think there were reports that 3 people had read one of his articles in Guardian and then caught AIDS straight afterwards. So that's the sort of shit that we're fucking dealing with Owen Jones. I don't even know how anybody could take that cunt fucking seriously about anything.
Nothing at all.
Nothing. I really don't. I wouldn't even take him seriously if he said, your wheels were a bit hard to fucking clean. That's. I just said, fuck off. Just get it fucking done, Dick. Get down on your fucking knees.
I just tell it, fuck off.
What a fucking prick. I'm sorry, but You know, these fucking arseholes that are in media. Alistair Campbell's always popping up everywhere. Fucking Tony Blair's popping up everywhere. Don't we already fucking have these?
Well, there was an article posted late on last week or over the weekend where the portfolio on the real estate for the Blairs is worth 27 million. Now, Sherry Blair runs SPVs, special purpose vehicles. They're the ones who securitize people's mortgages and sell them. Now, once they've been sold, Jason, as I've said to you before, 100 grand mortgage getting sold for 90 grand. Where's that 90 grand going? It's going to the SPVs. That's why Tony Blair and Sherry Blair's worth 27 million just on real estate.
And because the cunts.
And
they are the cunts.
Yeah,
and absolutely despise them. Listen, anyway, it's been a great chat tonight. It's 9 o'clock. We are out of here. Look out for us probably tomorrow night, but maybe Wednesday, or maybe Wednesday and Tuesday. But we'll sort something out. Just keep an eye on. Listen, give us a thumbs up on the YouTube, if you will, please. It gives us a nice feeling inside, and it makes my nipples all erect. And it looks like I'm smuggling peanuts, so I'll hide them from you. But thanks very much for listening tonight, everyone in the chat room. Cookie Monster's on, I believe, and also go and see Steve Turgoose as well on a Saturday night. I had a good listen on this Saturday night, so get yourself in there. Support proper fucking people that are just talking shit like what we are. You know, we weren't mainstream media. We weren't this, we weren't that. We're not fucking pretending to be out now. All we are is with blokes talking, and sometimes you get other people on to talk with us. So cheers, Webby. Thanks a lot, mate. And we'll see you tomorrow, or wait. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, definitely. So bye, everybody. Love you.